Have you ever felt helpless or hopeless?
America's positive, pragmatic Goshen.
I have too many times, and I'm sure some of you guys feel the same way. It might be where some of you might have just lost a loved one, and it's difficult. I've lost people in my family, never a mate. That would be difficult. Maybe your business is just upside down right now. It's just not gelling. As a matter of fact, it was going and all of a sudden the momentum's gone and it's just stabilized. Or maybe your job right now with this economy, it might be the fact that you're not sure if you're going to have a job. And boy, you're beginning to think a little bit hopeless on what's going to happen in the future. A marriage that might be upside down. Something's going on in your life. Here's the question. How do you regain stability and hope and reignite your vision? Welcome to Positive Pragmatic, solutions for everyday challenges. Not emotional solutions, but pragmatically looking at practical solutions to the problems and challenges you are having every day, and for sure I have every day. This is not a hypey podcast. It's a hopey podcast where I will give personal examples at times of things in my life that I have come through or sometimes didn't come through that might be able to help you where you are in your stage of life. Hopeless. Let's talk about helpless and hopeless. I think sometimes you can read these books and these great authors have great input and whatever, but I think sometimes it's just good to have a relationship with somebody that's been there and done that. You know what I mean? I mean, just like Bob has been there. Let me give you, for instance, it was the mid-'70s, 1974, 75. Things were going pretty good, man. We were rocking. The economy was rocking. Then all of a sudden we hit this thing called stagflation. Now, stagflation is when you have stagnant growth during an explosive time of inflation. Today, we're seeing a little bit of that, but nothing like then. Can you imagine your home loans then were 15 to 16%? The Dow Jones collapsed to 500 points. Bankruptcy going after one company after another. Things were just upside down. And I was in the middle of that. I owned a computing company where I represented a major line, and another line I represented out of Italy. Well, all of my merchandise could not come through. It was shut down coming into port, and the economy was just gone. Long story short, we lost everything. I had 3 businesses at the time. I had a computing company, construction business, and a leasing company. I have never been that devastated. There I was with 2 young children, a wife, beautiful wife, living in, quote, the country club that probably I couldn't afford when I flash back. And it was gone. I mean, it was gone. I had 3 cars. They were repossessed. Our credit cards were taken away. Our home was repossessed. It was gone. We lost it. My wife says, no, honey, we didn't lose it. It's still there today. We just don't have it anymore. We can laugh about this today, but I know what it's like to feel hopeless, to get up a week or 2 after you're into this and say, what am I going to do with these kids and with this wonderful wife? This last year, our home burned down. It burned down to the ground. I barely got my wife out in time. I had to drag her out of the house. We lost our furniture. We lost our clothing. We lost everything. Now, I'm not saying these things to say, oh, poor Bob. No. You right now are in a situation as bad, maybe, or as worse, or you're going to enter one here in the next few years that's going to have this kind of devastation on your life. When writing my book, Confident Hope, on the back I said this: life starts with a brutally realistic fact. Life is more like a salvage operation than a day at the beach. Most of us will spend more time in our lives recuperating than rejoicing. The key is learning how to recuperate. I propose that when we are facing life's destructive experiences such as death, divorce, disabilities, drugs, devastating relationships, or dismal financial future, we can still experience hope. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how do you turn it around, Bob? How right now, Bob, I'm in a situation, or you may know someone in a situation that's just upside down. And man, if I could crawl in this camera and grab you, I'd just say, man, it's going to be okay. But sometimes you got to go through the pain in order to get a little gain, I guess. I don't know. I hear all these hyped up sayings, but it hurts, doesn't it? It hurts. One of my business ventures over the years, having more than one was pretty interesting. I was in direct sales. I had the opportunity to build 3 direct sales businesses, 3 different companies, to the top 1% income. I did this while traveling around the world. I mean, from Hong Kong to Malaysia to Thailand to India, Russia, St. Petersburg, Budapest, Hungary, all over the world. Excuse me, Canada, everywhere. And somebody said, Bob, how did you grow? How did you keep creating new people in these places where they didn't even, a lot of them, understand English? Well, folks, I didn't sell a product. I didn't sell a marketing plan. That was the byproduct. As long as you've got something good, ladies and gentlemen, as long as you've got something that will repeat, that's not the problem. What I sold then, and I still do today, is hope. Giving people the opportunity to come to a meeting and hear somebody that says, you're going to make it. Not just because they're saying it, but because they've lived it. And I'm telling you, you're going to make it. Dr. Seligman, who is the father of psychology, of positive psychology, a great man and teaches in a university, says this, if I may. When we believe that there is no hope, we begin to feel helpless and hopeless. We feel that there's just nothing in the future for us. Our feelings during this time create devastating effects. Let me crawl into your head right now a little bit. I made a statement one time when all this was going on, I felt like somebody had a syringe and they had it stuck in my brain and it was just sucking out everything I had, sucking out all of my energy, sucking out all of my enthusiasm, all of my belief. And here was the first thing that I felt, and maybe you're feeling, frustration. Lord, why? I was a new Christian at the time. I mean, this shouldn't happen to me. I've learned since, yes. But frustration. I was so tense. I would snap at my wife. I'd snap at my kids because I just couldn't believe this was happening to me. I felt like giving up. I mean, I'd spent those years, even though I was in my early 30s, I spent a lot of time building these businesses and promoting them. Oh, my motivation, Lord love a duck, as my receptionist used to say. I had none. I had no reason to really get up. I don't know if you've ever felt like this, where you lay in bed going, just put the covers over my head and say, no, I don't want this anymore. Procrastination sets in. I just couldn't get up and get going. I'd say, well, tomorrow I'm going to do this. Tomorrow I'm going to do that. But when you're hopeless, these things are so hard. Your self-esteem, like, especially as a man, you know, we're men. We're the people that go get things for our family, and all of a sudden that collapses and your self-esteem just goes south. Yeah, me, the guy today that talks about being positive, this happened. Well, how do you turn it around, Bob? Please, Bob, shut up. Tell me how to turn it around. Well, here's what I have learned. And I want to share it with you. And I want you to, if you would, go get right now at this very moment, get a notepad and a pen. I'm a very firm believer. If you don't take notes, then you're going to forget anything I say here. And you're going to need some of the bullets I'm getting ready to give you to put in your gun, because sooner or later, you're going to face hopelessness or helplessness. When you link, I had to go back and relink my passion. My passion is in my heart to my hope or my faith in the future. See, I walked away from that. See, my wife says faith is believing that something is so when it is not so it can be so. Boy, that's hard when things are just falling apart. Oh, I'm empathetic with you right now. But you have to get back to that. You have to get back to that faith. You've got to get back to that hope. You got to get back to that confident hope that we're going to get through this. And then you have to hook that hope to your heart. The heart is your passion. When athletes no longer have what it takes, they give it up from the heart. They lose heart. You hear people say that all day. Well, he's just or she's just lost heart. Because, see, until you have hope and you have passion, the brain can't engage. The brain is what creates the action to explode that hope and that heart. Now, folks, just as we can work on feeling bad and helpless or hopeless, we can also get re-engaged and impassioned and empowered again. I'm going to give you now, 4, 5, 6, whatever I give you here, things that I want you to write down that I did at that time, and I have done many times since then, and it has helped me recover multiple times. Number 1, reflect on your past quickly. Reflect on your past. I had to think about the number of times that I never felt something would happen, and I made it. You understand? I went back and I looked. I'm thinking, I made it. I never thought I would make it. So I'm in the middle of this crisis right now, whatever it might be. I have to reflect on my past and say, if I've made it in the past, I will make it now. You look back at what you've achieved in your life, not what you've failed at in your life. Look back at your setbacks and see them as, again, I hate to be cliche here, see them as a comeback. We're immediately going after the future. Reflect, reflect, reflect. If you write down right now, and I have people do this, write down every time in your life that there was something crucial happened and you came through it. If you're like me, sometimes I have no idea how I came through it. I do now, today, now that I know God, but back then, that was the last thing from my message or from my heart. Number 2, break up that procrastination. It's hard to restart when you've been kicked down, isn't it? Bob, it's so easy for you to say those words. Oh, it's so easy today. But man, I kept saying, okay. I would write down what I was going to do, and I could not move forward. I was just stuck. It's like a giant demon was on me that just would not let me move forward. So I kept procrastinating. Well, tomorrow I'm doing this, and tomorrow I'm doing this, and tomorrow, well, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Well, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Number 2, fight procrastination, okay? Reflect on your past. Fight that. Number 3, you take a notepad, if you would, right now, and you write down. We recently did an interview with a Navy SEAL. This guy was amazing. 34 years a Navy SEAL. One time he spent 5 hours underwater for a mission. Folks, I can't hold my breath 15 seconds in the bathtub. I'm thinking 5 hours underwater. The guy was amazing. But he gave me something that has been so brilliant since that time. He said, here's the way we work it in the Navy SEALs. We have a mission. What's your mission right now? Bob, my marriage is going. I don't care where you're at. My company, I don't care. Write down what it's going to take to conquer this gorilla that you have. Write it down. What is your mission? He said we'd write our mission down. Then we'd write down every action, write it down, right there in one line, write it down, every action it's going to take in order to complete our mission. I'm going to renew my marriage. That's our mission. We're going to do it. What is it going to take? I'm going to have to communicate with my wife. Might write that down. I might have to go to counseling. Write that down. Write down what it's going to take. Even though sometimes you're thinking, oh, I don't want to write that down. Write it down. What's it going to take to get through that mission? Okay? Then off to the right, whatever it is, write down how you're going to do it. example, I'll just use something hypothetically, like my mission is to lose weight. Okay? What are you going to do in order to do that? Well, I'm going to work out. Okay? So we have our plan here. We're saying this is what we have to do. Now, here's the third part that I love about him. After you've laid out everything that needs to be done, to come back, remember, we're coming back, man. We're coming back. When we lay it out, and then we lay down everything that we have to do in order to make it happen, here's the next big one. If you want to really move forward quickly in life, next to that, write down everything that's going to happen to stop you from accomplishing that. Oh, yeah. You know, sometimes we say, well, I don't have a second way out. No, the SEALs, and they go in, here's what our mission is. Here's how we're going to do. If this doesn't work, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do to recover the things that's not working. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because it's major. And when you write these things out and you start clicking off some things that are happening, you know, like, I'm going to go to the gym. Well, let me tell you how many times I said that, you know. So I just procrastinate. It doesn't happen. Then the next day I might do it. I go, okay, man, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm a killer. Well, Monday, honey, I got to sleep in. Just get up and do it. Do it again. Do it again. Do it until it becomes that habit. See, when you achieve each one of these steps that you've put on that sheet, now listen to me, dopamine is released. Oh, and that's God's way of just giving you that power, giving you a way of being very powerful. It's a very motivator. It can just launch you into the future. 4, find a role model. Find somebody that's been where you want to go. Hook into that person. Don't hook in. Some of you guys, I appreciate you. I love you. Some of you are hooked in with the wrong people. I don't mean just, you know, some of the wrong people can be your family. I'm honestly saying that. I had an aunt one time. I loved her. I mean, she's a great aunt. I was just a little guy. Her name was Aunt Minnie. But every time I'd come around and the older I got, I'd say, Aunt Minnie, how you doing? Well, let me tell you. Have you ever had somebody like that? And they just kept saying, I got an ingrown toenail, and then I've got arteries, and then I've got, and she's going through all her problems. Folks, you got to get away from the problems when you're in the middle of this storm and you're trying to come out of it and you're trying to come back after being knocked down to your knees. It is so important to find that mentor. Find somebody that you can identify with and plug into that individual. And today it's so much easier than it was back in the 70s, because you've got YouTube, you've got all these great teachers out there. Find somebody that you can identify with, that you can look at and you can follow their teaching or their leadership or whatever, and it turns you on. What it will do, here's when you know you got the right person, that passion starts coming back. Passion starts coming back. So follow a role model. And then the last thing on this, you're going to have to reestablish the passion. I'll tell men and women, as a matter of fact, my next series is going to be on how you lose momentum. And then how do you regain momentum? And one of the key parts of that is the leader of that organization, whether it be a pastor, whether it be a CEO, whether it be a life coach, whatever, no matter what it is, they have got to stay with what they created in order to get what they got the first time. What was it normally? They had a vision, They had a dream, right? See, one of the things I told when Kay and I lost everything, one thing I didn't lose was my dream. I can remember I took Kay right after we lost the house and the cars and credit, and we had enough money probably to last, I'm going to say 60 days, so I had to hustle to find something. I put her in an old pickup this guy loaned me. I mean, it was two-tone cancer, man. I mean, the door would, have you ever had a vehicle when you turn the key off, it kept running? It was one of those. And I grabbed Kay. This is like after everything had just collapsed, and I was getting ready to, I would not file bankruptcy. I was going to work it out on my own. I said, come on, honey, put her in a truck. And at that time, we lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I went in Tulsa, and if you live in Tulsa, or if you've been around Tulsa, there are some amazing estates, 8, 9, 10, 15,000 square feet. And I lost our home, so I just started driving around. Kay really thought I was on drugs, and I didn't drink, I didn't do that. I said, no, honey, I don't know how, I don't know when, and it may not be as big as this, but I'm going to have you another home. I'm going to get you another home. Don't lose that dream. If you have an organization that's out of momentum, you've lost the dream. You've lost the vision. You've lost where you want to go. Okay? But one of the aspects in there is you've got to have passion. Whenever an athlete collapses, he's lost his passion, or she has. And then you have to have a system. Folks, you can make this happen. I don't know what your challenge is. I have no idea. I know I prayed before I came on here thinking, there's got to be one person out there, maybe more than one, that's going through a tough time. I've done and completed about everything a person can complete and do in life. Not arrogantly, just I have, from travel to homes to, we did get a big home in Tulsa, by the way, 11,000 square foot that's still there. That's kind of a monument now. We don't need that anymore, but we did it. But you're sitting there. See, I've been in a trailer house and I've had the big house. How do you move? I'm not just talking about money here. How do you mentally lock in to move forward? And that's what we're talking about. So today, I hope, just hope, even if you got one word, one little clip, one statement, maybe one little laugh, I want you to know, go back and reflect on the number of times in your life that you've come through something you swore you never would, and you're going to go through this. Now, let me close by saying this. On my previous podcast, I talked about behind every problem, behind every challenge, okay, lays God's purpose. God has a purpose. When you go back and you read all of the people in the Bible that had all these problems, he had a purpose. And what I have found in my life, the greatest purpose that I have seen, and you will have, is to get through this, because there's others out there suffering with what you're going through. And they need somebody that's been there and done that to say, you're going to make it. I hope you enjoy our podcast. Looking forward as we come in the future. We'll look for us on all the podcast channels out there. We're going to be going up with these pretty quick. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next session when we talk about how in the world do you get your momentum back? Have a fantastic day.